My name is Robert Keller. I'm 53 years old, and I worked as a safety engineer at Skytech Aviation for 26 years. Throughout my career, I took pride in believing I worked for a company that embraced the safety-first principle, until everything changed with the Atlas 900 project. In 2015, Skytech was under immense pressure to respond quickly to competitor Global Air's launch of their new generation, fuel-efficient neocruiser aircraft. Developing new designs and technology would take time, so management chose another path, rapidly updating the existing Atlas 800 model. Thus, the Atlas 900 project was born, the new generation single-aisle aircraft the company wanted to rush to market. Our engineers are the best in the industry, CEO Victor Reed declared at the press conference. The Atlas 900 will be a revolution, allowing airlines to transform their fleets without having to train new pilots. This announcement made the first red flag visible to me. Making significant changes to an aircraft's automatic flight control systems without pilot training was unusual and potentially dangerous in the aviation industry. When I first voiced my concerns, my department manager, Eleanor Wilson, said, "Senior management is quite clear on this, Bob. To compete with Global Air, we must stay under the original certification. If we make major changes, the Aviation Safety Agency will require new certification, which could take years." As the project progressed, a new software system called MCAS, Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, was developed. The larger engines increased the aircraft's tendency to pitch its nose upward. MCAS was designed to automatically correct this issue. However, the system relied on data from a single sensor, and pilots had limited options to intervene if it failed. In late 2017, our internal test pilot, Marcus Rivera, reached out to me with a secure message. "I'm experiencing some strange interactions with MCAS in the simulator. There are undocumented behaviors. Would you like to check these out?" What Marcus showed me deeply disturbed me. Under certain conditions, MCAS would engage repeatedly, pushing the aircraft's nose down further each time. There was little time for pilot intervention. I returned to Eleanor with these findings, this time met with an even harsher response. The likelihood of such maneuvers occurring in normal operation is extremely low. We've already done the risk assessment. Senior management agrees this isn't an issue. In an engineers' meeting, I argued that MCS should be included in pilot manuals, but Chief Technical Officer David Lambert overruled me. Adding this to the manual would trigger additional training requirements. The whole point of the Atlas 900 is to avoid that. I documented my concerns in Skytech's internal safety reporting system, but they were consistently marked as resolved without actual resolution. It felt like I was shouting into a void. The corporate culture had shifted from prioritizing safety to focusing on market share and stock prices. The Atlas 900 received its certification in 2018, with MCAS barely mentioned in the documentation. Airlines worldwide began adding the aircraft to their fleets. The company celebrated its fastest-selling model in history, with over 5,000 orders. Every executive received massive bonuses, and the stock price soared to record heights. Then came October 29th, 2018. An Atlas 900 operated by Sunpath Airways crashed into the Indian Ocean minutes after takeoff, killing all 189 people aboard. Initial reports suggested the pilot struggled with unexplained flight control issues. I immediately suspected MCAS, but was warned not to speculate. "Let the investigation take its course," Eleanor cautioned. "Don't jump to conclusions." In an emergency review meeting, I presented evidence that the crash matched exactly the scenario Marcus and I had identified in the simulator. David dismissed it. One incident doesn't establish a pattern. We need more data before making drastic decisions. 4 months later, on March 10th, 2019, another Atlas 900, operated by African Star Airlines, crashed 6 minutes after takeoff, killing 157 people. The flight pattern showed the same distinctive oscillations that indicated MCAS activation. The second crash was my breaking point. That night, I gathered all documentation related to MCAS development, the concerns we'd raised, and the management decisions to ignore them. I encrypted everything and contacted a journalist I trusted at the Aviation Herald. "What you're about to do could end your career," my wife warned when I told her my plan. "If I don't do this, more people will die," I replied. I couldn't live with myself. The next morning, I was called into Victor Reed's office. The atmosphere was glacial. "We've detected unauthorized access to confidential documents last night," he said, his voice eerily calm. "Would you know anything about that, Robert?" "I accessed documents I was authorized to see as part of my job," I responded, maintaining eye contact. "We're forming a special committee to handle the crisis," he continued. "I want you on it." It was a transparent attempt to keep me close and controlled. I accepted, knowing it would give me access to even more information. Over the next few weeks, as regulators worldwide grounded all Atlas 900s, I meticulously documented every attempt by Skytech executives to downplay the issues or shift blame to the pilots. In meetings, I was often the lone voice arguing for complete transparency. "The pilots should have known how to override the system," David insisted during one tense meeting. "How could they know?" I countered. "We deliberately kept MCAS out of the manuals on your instructions." The tension in the room was palpable. Later that day, Eleanor cornered me in the hallway. "You're not being a team player, Bob. Remember who signs your paychecks." 2 days later, my security clearance was mysteriously revoked. When I arrived at work, my keycard didn't function. Human Resources called to inform me I was being placed on administrative leave pending an internal investigation. That afternoon, the Aviation Herald published its exposé. Internal documents reveal Skytech knew about Atlas 900 safety issues years before fatal crashes. Without explicitly naming me, the article detailed how safety concerns had been systematically suppressed for commercial gain. Within hours, Skytech's stock plummeted 22%. The company issued a statement calling the article misleading and based on incomplete information taken out of context. 3 days later, federal investigators arrived at Skytech headquarters with search warrants. They seized computers and documents related to the Atlas 900 certification process. The following week, I received a formal termination letter citing breach of confidentiality and actions detrimental to the company. I wasn't surprised. In fact, I felt relieved. After 26 years, my career at Skytech was over, but my conscience was clear. Over the next year, I testified before Congress, aviation authorities, and in multiple lawsuits filed by victims' families. The full extent of the corporate malfeasance was gradually exposed: deliberate concealment of safety issues, misleading regulators, and prioritizing profit over human lives. The Atlas 900 remained grounded for 20 months. When it finally returned to service, it had undergone the most comprehensive safety review in aviation history. MCAS had been completely redesigned with triple redundancy and clear pilot override protocols. Victor Reed and David Lambert both resigned in disgrace. Several executives faced criminal charges for fraud and obstruction of justice. Skytech paid over $2.5 billion in fines and settlements, the largest in aviation history. As for me, I never worked in aviation again. No company would touch a known whistleblower. My retirement savings evaporated in legal fees, despite protection laws supposedly shielding whistleblowers from retaliation. Yet when I meet the families of victims, parents, children, spouses mourning loved ones lost in those crashes, and they thank me for exposing the truth, I know I made the right choice. 346 people died, but thousands more now fly safely because the system was finally fixed. Sometimes integrity comes at a steep personal price. But some prices are worth paying. In the culture of corporate aviation, where the margins for error are measured in human lives, there can be no compromise on safety. I lost my career but found something more valuable: the knowledge that when faced with a choice between corporate loyalty and human lives, I chose correctly. The tragedy of the Atlas 900 should serve as an eternal reminder that complex systems fail not just through technical errors, but through cultural ones. When speaking up is discouraged, when concerns are silenced, when profit margins outweigh safety margins. If my story teaches anything, it's this. In life-critical industries, the courage to say no despite pressure from above might be the most important safety feature of all.